Hi, Kelsey. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Cassie?
Good. Thanks for joining me today for a little member Q&A. For those of you watching, Kelsey has been a member of Profile for about a year and a half. And she has, first of all, hit her goal weight and been maintaining her goal weight for over, what is it, Kelsey, 6 or 7 months?
Yeah,
Yeah, she's crushing it. And so, what we thought for today is just to hop in with Kelsey and have her answer just a couple questions about her journey and what it's like to sustain her goal weight and living the best, healthiest lifestyle that she can. So, without further ado, Kelsey, I'd love to start off with the question of getting your about routines and getting yourself into a routine. And, if there's one thing that I know about you is that you love your morning routine. And so if you wouldn't mind just sharing with everyone, what your morning routine looks like and also what your night before routine looks like as well.
yeah, sure. So I have never really been a morning person. I have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. But right now, with working from home and my kids both doing school at home, I had to take control of my mornings. And I had to become a morning workout person. It was the only time during the day that I could make it happen. So I had to figure out why I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I found a couple things that really, really helped me. I realized that I hated getting out of bed because it was cold. So I started sleeping in long sleeves and socks and warmer clothes so that I could get out of bed. I also realized I hated the sound of my alarm clock. So I changed it to a song that motivates me to get out of bed. And in case anyone's wondering, it's Britney Spears, which probably really shows how old I am. But it makes me want to get out of bed and it makes me want to work. So, one other thing I found that really helps is figuring out what your point of no return is. What's the one thing you do before you get going for the day that once you do that, you're not going to go back to sleep? For me, that's my pre-workout drink. So I have my powder in my shaker cup the night before, and I bring one of these great cups with me to bed filled with water so that in the morning I roll over, dump the water in, shake it up, and kind of drink it while I'm still in my bed, stretching, getting ready for the day. And once that's down the hatch, I'm all in. There's no
You're
turning.
all in.
I'm
Yes.
all in. So that's my morning routine. So the night before, I have everything ready to go. I've got my pre-workout on my nightstand. My alarm is set. I just do it a recurring alarm so that I never have to worry about setting it. It's going to go off every single weekday with that song that gets me up, gets me moving, and I'm just set.
That's awesome, Kelsey. And thanks so much for sharing. One thing that I heard while you were talking through all of the things to set yourself up for success is that you're incorporating all of your senses, from the feeling of being cold and not really enjoying that. So you're finding the solution to that. Same thing,
Mm-hmm.
with your pre-workout, right? You want something that tastes good in the morning and gives you energy.
Yeah.
And then my favorite part of your morning routine is setting your alarm to Britney Spears. I mean, who else in the world is going to get up and motivate you besides, some Britney? So
Right.
I'm right there with you. And I hope there's some members here that are listening that are like, oh my gosh, I'd never thought of that. Just the littlest things and how they can make such a big difference and make your
Mm-hmm.
mornings much more enjoyable and easier for you to start your day. So
Exactly.
um,
It's all about
awesome.
easy.
It's all about keeping it easy. Kelsey, what would you say is the most difficult part of this part of your journey? You went through Reboot Reduce and followed this simple and structured meal plan. You fought those temptations and through the behavior change process of
Mm-hmm.
reincorporating those fruits and those starches back in through Adapt and to now, maintaining your weight for 6 months. What would you say is the most difficult part of that phase of your journey?
Um, I think that gaining back those freedoms is probably the hardest part. So in the maintain phase, once you get that fruit back and once you get the starch back, it's really, really hard to continue making the best choices for yourself. I love bread.
Mhm.
Before profile, I think every meal I had bread of some sort, a starch, a bagel, an English muffin, something like that. Every lunch, every dinner had a lot of rice or a lot of pasta involved. So for me, having just a little bit of that and having to measure it was really, really tough. So the hardest part right now is continuing to keep the balance and to keep myself in check and slipping the old habits where I'm not and I'm just, dumping things on the plate. That's the hardest part right now.
Yeah. And what are maybe a couple strategies that you would tell some other members about how you maintain that discipline or things that you do to help you measure out those macronutrients?
Write it down. That's my biggest thing. I've tried apps to track different things. I don't like it. For me, I need a pen and I need paper and I like to write it down. So I do keep a food journal and I
Mhm.
write down what I'm eating. But not only that, I write down how it makes me feel. So if I'm really, really craving a cheeseburger right now in Maintain, I eat the cheeseburger. My family and I, we eat the burger. So once I've done that, I write down tonight I had a cheeseburger and fries. This is how it made me feel afterward. My stomach kind of hurt. I didn't feel great. Next time, skip the fries, Kelsey, because they weren't worth it to you. You just wanted the burger. So
Mhm.
just writing it down for me really, really helps because I remember better how it makes me feel afterward or the next day. And I can look back. So I've been able to figure out my emotions and how my emotions affect my eating. So there's at the beginning of the months, when work gets crazy, that's when I want to emotion eat. So that's when I want a cheeseburger or French fries. And I can have that and that's fine. But I want to balance it and make sure it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we've worked on together over the past few months is allowing yourself at this place in the journey to have those foods, but taking it to that next level and tying that emotions piece into it as we
Mhm.
recognize that a lot of those food triggers stem from boredom, or for you most often it's been stress. And so
Yeah.
bringing in this extra level of mindfulness has been a practice that you've put in place and it has now become habit for you. What I
Yes.
love also about, the way that you phrase that is you can look back for yourself and say, next time. And when you say next time, you're speaking that into existence and visualizing what that experience is going to look like in the future
Hmm.
to trigger your brain to say, wait on a second, you do want those French fries, but do you need them? And if you do, like how much?
Hmm.
And so, I think that's one thing that took a long time for us to get to this place and a lot of practice and a lot of reps, but such great advice to other members to put it into practice as well. You
Yeah.
don't have to wait until this part of the phase to practice that. You can practice that in Reboot Reduce. You can practice that in Adapt, and also here in Stain. So great.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that. Um, just one more question for you, Kelsey. When you think back on your journey from Reboot, Reduce through Adapt and now into Sustain, how has your activity journey changed through all of those phases? Or could you walk me through, what your activity looked like in Reboot, Reduce and what your activity looked like in Adapt, to now your morning routine of getting up and getting going with your activity?
Sure. So when I first started Profile, I wasn't exercising at all. I had gotten so busy in my life that I didn't have time to exercise and I wasn't eating right either. So it was a perfect storm. So when I started Reboot Reduce, I didn't add in exercise right away, um, other than some light walking. So I would say I probably stuck to that for several months, just light walking, no intense exercise, and just really focusing on my eating habits and making sure that everything I put in my body was healthy and was something that was going to fuel me and not just, feed my emotions and make me feel better because I just ate a sugary treat. Um, Once I started easing back into more exercise, it turned into I would do some light running on the treadmill or some rowing on I have a rower. Um, but it really, really morphed into I was feeling really, really good physically. What I was eating was giving me energy. My energy lasted longer. And I really found that I could take exercise to the next level. So I started doing some interval training, everything at home, YouTube videos, really easy stuff. Um, and then it really morphed into, once I got to the maintain phase, then it turned into more intense workouts as well. But it just really happened very gradually and very naturally. It wasn't something where I said, okay, now that I'm in this phase of the plan, I'm going to work out harder. I'm going to work out more. It didn't happen that way. It was just, as I was going and feeling really great, it just happened. I wanted to exercise more. It made me feel really great. And it also helped motivate me to keep eating well, because when you're eating really well, exercising is a lot easier. So it all just kind of tied together without me even realizing it. And you don't realize it until you're at the point I am right now, where you're in maintain and you're like, wow, I made it here. Like, I got here because I followed the process. And when I hit a roadblock, I talked to my coach and she helped me through it. And it's fantastic. And I wouldn't change any of it. I mean, there's little slip ups along the way, but part of the journey was also learning that those aren't failures. That's just progress. You have to have a slip up here and there to learn from it. So one of the biggest things for me too was, there's no such thing as cheating on the plan. It's not a failure. It's life, and you're going to live it. And you just need to look at it as progress and your stepping stones.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have said any of that better myself. I think trusting the process and knowing that and accepting that you're going to have slip ups along the way, and that, those really aren't failures. I think you wrapped that up in a really nice way, and hopefully resonates with a lot of our other members that are, no matter where you're at in the journey. I think that's a very important piece to the puzzle, is knowing that nobody here is perfect. But when we partner up and stick together, we're going to get to the other side. So
yes.
Kelsey, thank you for jumping on with me this morning and sharing some of your golden nuggets with the Profile family. And I'm excited to see where we go from here in the next few months. So keep on your journey and working hard on building the best and healthiest lifestyle that you possibly can.
Thanks, girl.
All right. See you soon, Kelsey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.